Today we're getting under the hood of women's health with Francilia, an advocate for procurement, development, and management, and the founder and CEO of RF Wilkins Consultants and IO Labs. Francilia will get under the hood of high-risk pregnancy. What was your pregnancy journey like?
My pregnancy journey was an interesting one because that's where my fibroid journey started. I had miscarried once before, which was really difficult. And I will tell you, we realized that the fibroids had an impact in the miscarriage. And so we ended up finding a number of really great doctors in Long Island. And we had two doctors that took me from the beginning to the end. Dr. Kofinas in Long Island is known for his work around maternal health. And we went to him after I miscarried. And I will tell you, he requested that I shift my diet. He did all types of tests and all of that stuff. He did tell us about the fibroids. He told us at that time he did not want to go into surgery because he said that there could be more impact where I would not be able to carry if I was trying to get pregnant now. It took me almost 4 to 5 years before I was able to conceive, and we tried throughout that time. The second pregnancy was difficult, to say the least. I was automatically considered a high-risk pregnancy. And that was not only because of my age, but because of the fibroids and how large they were starting to get. As soon as I got pregnant, these fibroids that had sat there for all of these years decided that they wanted to go crazy and grow like monsters. It was a very intense, time. I will go into the symptoms and all the things that came up. I know that's a question coming up, but it was an intense period. I was in the doctor every other week during my pregnancy, and we were living in Westchester at that time and driving all the way to the end of Long Island or middle Long Island. I had extreme pain. I had a 24-hour stint of contractions due to the fibroids, and it was extremely painful. I'll talk about medications in a second that were told to be given to me that I did not want to take during the pregnancy. I had pain throughout the entire pregnancy. I was put on bed rest immediately after the doctors found out that I was pregnant and stayed like that for the first almost 2 to 3 months of the pregnancy, just to make sure we had good attachment and all of that stuff. I was sick every single day. I vomited every day. On to when I gave birth on the table, I was vomiting. And so that's a high level view, and I'll deep dive into all of those stuff of what my pregnancy experience was, all of which were due to the fact that I had fibroids that were growing insanely throughout the pregnancy.
When did you find out that you were having a high-risk pregnancy?
Right. So immediately they knew I was high risk. Now, I think the good thing is I had found these two doctors, and the two doctors told me from the beginning, you have fibroids, you're an older person, this is going to be a high-risk pregnancy. It is going to be very tough for you to carry a baby. That's what I was told. It's going to be a tough process. And so from before I even got pregnant, I knew it was going to be a very tough process, and I knew we were going to be considered high risk. And that it was immediate. I was told immediately what to expect. Had no idea what that really meant until I got into it.
And what were the key signs or symptoms that indicated your pregnancy was high risk, and how did you navigate them?
Some of the keys, first of all, I was in the doctor a lot. And thank God for that, because I think that my doctors were able to catch things before they happened and kind of prepare me for the experience. And they were really direct and honest and expensive. I will say that they were not covered through insurance. One of them was, but the main doctor was not. So for this high level, we had the best level of care. I can say that, but it was a costly best level of care. And I always look back and I say that I wish this type of access was openly available for everyone. So I want to say that. Because of that, however, we knew what symptoms would come up. We were kind of told the different kind of things to expect. So what came up for me, first of all, I was sick throughout the entire pregnancy, vomiting every single day. Every day I couldn't keep down food at all. And this was from the beginning to the end of the pregnancy. We had a situation that I had contractions because of the fibroids. They had warned me that fibroids break down when you are pregnant. And the breaking down of these fibroids could be very painful if they were to happen. And they also warned me that it's so critical that we watch this because it's between the baby is going to survive or the fibroids are going to survive because they're both fighting for your blood. So we have to pay attention to this to see who wins. And let me tell you, I felt every piece of that fight. The fibroids is what led to some serious contractions. And the pain was so intense, it lasted for 24 hours. It started again. There's medication that they wanted me to take, but they said, look, you are in severe pain. They said, most women cannot handle this pain. They said they cannot handle it at all, and not for as long as you've been handling it after the first 24 hours. They said if it happens again, there's a medication that can impact the heart of the baby. But it's either you're going to have to take this medication or you have to stay in the pain. And I was like, I'm not taking it. And they were so shocked. What do you mean you're not taking it? I'm like, I can't. I don't want to impact the baby's heart. So I went on, and the pain just kept coming nonstop. I mean, insane. Like, think about if you're giving birth and having contractions, but it doesn't stop, right? That's the level of pain. And that symptom happened, and it happened a number of times. So the final time I was like, okay, fine, I'll take the pill for 24 hours. And they said, if you take it for 24 hours, we will watch. And if we see any change in the baby, we'll tell you so you can stop. And so during that period, every other day I went into the doctor. We drove in every other day to test it. That was another symptom that happened while I was pregnant.
How did that make you feel?
I was in such a state of prayer during this experience. I will tell you, this experience is probably one of the most difficult I've ever dealt with. Not only just carrying the baby, but like the birth experience, which I'll share in a little bit. I did not know if I was going to make it through. And I had days where I was so sad because, mind you, while doing this, I'm running two companies. Not only am I running two companies, but I'm running a company that's 14 years old and I'm building a startup manufacturing facility. That's like at that time, $20 million plus project. So I'm raising money. I am not able to tell people I'm pregnant. So let's say that too. I wasn't talking about it because there was this underlying feeling that as, a woman and a CEO, if people realized I was pregnant and I'm raising money for this new company, they would not give me the money because they would think I couldn't do it. And there was this thought process that was really anchored in reality. I would do it again. I'll tell you that. I would keep it again. But I felt days of just really down. I felt days where I felt really supported between my team and my husband and all of that. I felt really supported. I felt days in which I was so sick, I couldn't even emotionally think. I felt disconnected from myself. I felt all the emotions and I had nothing but time between work and like just not being able to go anywhere. I experienced all different levels of emotion and I got really close in prayer to God during that time because I'll tell you, I would not have been able to get through it. I had three other friends, my niece, and then two friends who were pregnant around the same time. They were such an emotional anchor. I had people like you, Elizabeth, who would like just talk to me. I think I had a lot of women in my life to help me really talk through emotion, which is not something that I'm really just like, I work and I do what I got to do and that's it. And then it's like whatever happens, happens. But when you're in 9 months of pain, you really have to adjust and address the emotion. So that was how I felt during that time.
What specific medical interventions or treatments did you undergo, and how did they impact you?
I had medication, a short stint of medication that would, could potentially impact the baby's heart. I had tests every week, every other week. I was constantly getting tested, constantly getting checked. I took a slew of pills that were customized for me. And it integrated a bunch of vitamins and some other medications, everything you can think of, stuff to make the placenta stick, stuff to keep my iron down, stuff to all of those things. I took by the end of the pregnancy, my iron was so bad that I would have to go into the cancer treatment center and get shots. Throughout the entire pregnancy, I took shots in my stomach. And those shots in my stomach were to ensure the baby would stick. And I had a shot in the right, a shot in the left, and they would leave me all bruised up. So I was all bruised up and my stomach in pain from those shots. I would take 2 shots a day, every day. In fact, I have a video where I just like dumped all of the hundreds of syringes that I had on on the floor because it was such a blessing to be done with those shots. I took constant um, shifts in medication to make sure it was addressing some of the things that were happening. And this is a girl who went from 0 pills ever to having to pop about what, 15 to 20, 30 a day, every single day of the pregnancy. And it was a unique experience for me.
How did you manage the emotional stress and anxiety associated with having a high risk pregnancy?
I managed it by like focusing on, I worked like crazy. I think I just kind of managed it by like focus, work, go, build a $20 million company and make sure it has to happen before you give birth. And so I was on like this strict, real path to like go, right? I think that helped me in the days that I just felt so sad because there were days, and as I'm sitting here and talking about it, and I'm remembering I have to it's almost like your brain forgets because there was so many things that happened throughout this pregnancy. I really have to, I did journal a bit, which was a recommendation and I journaled and that helped me to just talk through the mental stuff in my head. I was scared throughout the entire pregnancy of miscarrying again. When I tell you I was scared, I don't think you realize how terrified you are after having one miscarriage and being on this extensive medical regimen that I was on. I don't think you realize how traumatized you are until you're in it. And I was scared of everything. I'm going through all of these things, and every next level of things scared the crap out of me. I cried a lot. I was very emotional, and that's not the normal Fran. You don't really get me crying a lot. I thank God for my line sister, my sorority sister, because she was definitely like she was 2 months ahead of me. So anything I had gone, she had fibroids also. So a lot of what we went through a lot of similar things. And so she was the one person who, when I called her, she's like, okay, yeah, I had to deal with this thing too. And she had twins. She was pregnant with twins with fibroids. My fibroids were a lot bigger, but our experiences were very similar because she had twins. So I think that having friendship as emotional support, journaling, just crying sometimes, just anchoring in God and anchoring in work. That is how I dealt with all of this stuff because it was a lot. I was emotionally a wreck.
What support systems or resources were most helpful to you during that time, both medically and emotionally?
Dr. Kofinas and Dr. Pilitary and Lauren. I will tell you, Dr. Kofinas is world renowned for his work around maternal everything maternal issues. That team, the number one resource for me. That team, I owe it to that team that I have a child here today, period. I would recommend them to anybody having any type of maternal issues, go to that team. Yes, it's a cost. If you're looking to have a child, go to that team. That's number one resource. I think my close friends, my sorority sister, like I said, was pregnant around the same time I was. My mom, oh my God, thank God for moms who just like, would talk me through it. Prayer was a resource. My work colleagues were a resource because they just gave me space. My friends were a resource because a lot of them had had babies already. I was like the last in my friend crew to have a child. Uh, my husband was a resource. We were doing counseling, some, marriage counseling and stuff at that time, which I would recommend to anybody because when the baby comes, you'll be crazy. And during the pregnancy, you'll be crazy. So just get ready for, the impact on the marriage. And so those were the resources that helped me throughout that time. Pregnancy books.
Looking back, what were the most important lessons you learned, and how has it shaped your perspective on motherhood?
Good medical care. By the end of my pregnancy, the fibroids had grown so big that literally the plan was to have a C-section. So we're in the hospital, we planned the C-section, and the doctor said, before I even get in the hospital, the 12th is when I was supposed to give birth, April 12th. The doctor said, well, I want to have this backup doctor with me because I think that these fibroids may have grown really big. And so on the 12th, when I was supposed to give birth, the backup doctor was unavailable. And all of our plans for the 12th were shattered because he called us and he said, don't come in today. Let's wait for this doctor. On April 13th, I went into the hospital, gave birth, and the doctor was finally available. Good thing he made that decision because when I got on the birthing table, not only did they have to give me a vertical C-section, so all the way up, not the regular small horizontal C-section, but because the fibroids were so huge, they still couldn't get the baby out and they had to do a myomectomy on the table. Because they did a myomectomy, I started to bleed out on the table. And due to that, which is normal, that's why they don't like to do it, they had to tie certain blood vessels in my uterus. All three surgeries at the same time. My first thing that I learned or lesson that I would give to anyone is have good medical care. If I didn't, I would not be here today. I would probably have lost my uterus with everything that had to be done. I stayed in the hospital for 7 days after I gave birth because I ended up needing a blood transfusion and a number of other things. And without good medical care, I would not be here today. I promise you, my baby probably wouldn't be here today. So that was the first thing I learned from this experience. Give time for self. Right now I'm actually doing this interview in the spa. But I just realized like I have since 23 when I started my business, I've been like running. I've been on this cycle of running and running and running and running, and it's like a nonstop cycle. There's always this next thing that needs to be done. And so my next lesson is like, give yourself space to heal and be. I was forced to sit down after I gave birth. I was forced to stop running. And I was forced to let my body heal. I'm still letting my body heal. I'm still not healed fully a year after. I still have a lot left on this journey around what to do with the fibroids. My uterus is high. My stomach has not gone down. All of these things due to the pregnancy journey and the fibroids. And so my second advice to anybody would be give yourself the space to heal and be patient with your body. The final thing I would say is, good self-talk. I'm really hard on myself. And I'll be like, "Chip, just get it together. Like, you're strong, suck it up." Like, I just have really bad self-talk. And I've had to learn how to speak to myself a bit kindly in this space. And so those would be my advice to anybody going through this journey of pregnancy and fibroids and all of those things are, if nothing else, give yourself space and be proud and be um, excited about the fact that you are a woman and your body is strong and you can heal and you can be, and we're the only creatures that can bring humans into this world. So that's it.